Weekend Warriors, we're back. Week 7 podcast with the commish. Hey, listen, last week with the predictions, not so great. The Turnersville Sportsbook went 2-3. And on the season, we are 16-14. Now, that's not too bad. We strive to stay above 500, as we said. A lot of the times, the sportsbook record is indicative of the commissioner's record because I always pick myself to win. But in this case, I'm 3-3, so to be 16-14, I'm okay with that after 6 weeks. You see, I'm rocking the Trusted Process, the Joel Embiid jersey tonight. I'm filming as of Thursday, about an hour before the Sixers play. Big night, big time for sports, right, guys? It's crazy right now. You get the baseball, almost the World Series. You get, the conference finals right now. Basketball starting. My team is doing really well in fantasy basketball, much to the chagrin of Pearson, who I am playing. But we'll see. And I also have Joel Embiid on my team in fantasy. So, hey, anyway, segment I'm going to do for you this week is called Stud, Dud, and Sleeper. I just read now I'm going to call him my competitor, Matthew Berry, who has blocked me on Twitter, by the way, because I told him that throwing darts at a board is better for your fantasy team than listening to him. But I'm going to call him my competitor now, since I have my own podcast going on, and he's still floating around throwing out crappy advice every week. I read his article today, Love Hate, and he told you he hates Deshaun Watson against the Jaguars. Whoa. That's a real leap for him to take. He hates Lamar Miller against the Jaguars, too. It's like, who's reading these articles? Like, third graders? Like, if you don't know that playing somebody against the Jaguars, the Jaguars, I'm going to defend myself because the Cowboys scored 40 points against them last week. Come on, guys. You got to know what's an anomaly and what's not. So I'm going to give you real advice. I'm going to look into a matchup and not just at a matchup and just spit out garbage. I'm going to actually give you guys... You might say, this guy, why is Ty picking him to do good? Or why is he picking him to do bad? This matchup really doesn't make a lot of sense. Hey, I could be wrong, but at least I'm not going to just throw out, not to start Josh Rosen tonight. So, anyway, is that a little stab at Matthew Berry? Maybe, but yes, it is, actually. Yes, it is. So we're going to jump into the matchups. We are going to start with, I'll call it the poop matchup of the week. You have Weapon X-Men, who I predicted to win. Why did I do that last week? He still has 0 wins. He's 0-6 against No Doubting Thomas, who needed a win last week, got the win. His team's not that bad. I'm calling it the poop matchup just because they're ranked 9th and 10th respectively in the standings, and they're playing each other this week. So that would be a poop bowl if I would. Listen, Otley has Tom Brady and Gronk. We've said he's had them all year. This trade actually has been good for Otley. A lot of people thought Kev might have been taking him to the cleaners getting Antonio Brown, but Kareem Hunt's been fantastic. Devonta Freeman is now out for the year. You know that Dalvin Cook, who Otley received back, has been anything but reliable. He's been banged up, but at least he has a chance to come back, and Freeman is on IR. So worked out for him having Kareem Hunt there. Kenyon Drake is your running back number 2. I just threw up a little bit, and your number 1 wide receiver is Corey Davis, so we've been talking about that for a while. Just not a great situation. As for Dean, he's been relying on Aaron Rodgers, but he's on bye. No worries. Who cares? I got Phillip Rivers. I'm fine. Okay, he's got Phillip Rivers. I like it. Against Tennessee sucks, so that should be fine. Michael Thomas is back. Not a great matchup, but, it's Michael Thomas. You play him. You still got Ezekiel Elliott. Look. And also, by the way, I will say this. Travis Kelce. Dean has Travis Kelce. Otley has Rob Gronkowski. You might be seeing now with Patrick Mahomes emerging, I think Travis Kelce is the best tight end, at least in fantasy purposes. Maybe if you put Gronkowski on the Chiefs, he'd be better. But just kind of where we stand today, I think Kelce's the tight end to own. I'm going to go with Dean. I don't think there's much surprise here. I picked Otley last week. Stupid move. He let me down, and I'm not picking him again until he actually wins the game. So No Doubting Thomas over Otley here in Week 7. Moving on to the next matchup, we got Balls Deepest versus Wrecking Crew. Pearson was on the show last week. thought he was going to win, threw a little dig at Chris at the end, and then Todd Gurley ran for 200 yards. To Pearson's defense, he did say that Todd Gurley could have a big week, and he scared him. Well, he did more than scared him. He jumped him out of his skin with a 200-yard performance and was the reason why Chris was able to overcome Pearson and knock him down a peg. So my standout start is actually in this matchup. I told you I was going to give you a stud, a dud, and a sleeper. My stud is Jarvis Landry. He has not been a stud this year. He actually has had a pretty bad season. Even after Baker has come in, everybody was very high on him. Well, this week, Tampa Bay, I think it's a get-right game. I think that Tampa Bay's defense stinks. I think this is going to be a little bit of a shootout. Cleveland had a horrible week last week. They had a horrible week the week before. But this week, I think they get back on track. I'm going to say Jarvis Landry is going to have at least 80 yards and a touchdown. He might even eclipse the 100-yard marker. So take that, Matt Berry. Anyway, does that mean Pearson's going to win this matchup? Well, Terry, I'll tell you what, man. He's got a good team. Jared Goff had a horrible week last week. This week, he's playing the Niners. They stink out loud also. Odell Beckham Jr. has not been doing well. He's playing Atlanta. You want players against Atlanta this season. He might have T.Y. Hilton back, which could be big for him also. And then James White, T.J. Yeldon, auto starts right now with some injuries, or I guess Rex Burkhead going down, Leonard Fournette out. Both those guys are auto starts. Zach Ertz, another great tight end. Pearson has a good team. We've been saying it. Keenan Allen's ready to explode. Didn't explode last week. That was a prediction from Pearson that did not come true. Brandon Cooks had headaches last week after a concussion. He played. Pearson benched him. He had a down week. Good move by Pearson. Didn't help him in his matchup, but he should be back to full strength this week. And then obviously, I think a lot's going to depend on, I mean, look, Pearson has 3 top 12 running backs in David Johnson, Joe Mixon, and Sony Michel. I think a lot's going to depend on David Johnson tonight. I've read a lot that Denver's going to try and stack the box and stop the run. You would have thought they would have done that last week against Todd Gurley. Todd Gurley is Todd Gurley, so David Johnson is not Todd Gurley. But the week before, Isaiah Crowell ran for 200 yards. So you would think David Johnson's going to have a good week this week, but Arizona, for whatever reason, just likes to run it right in the middle of the field, and he just runs into a pile. We'll see how that shakes out. I think a lot of this matchup is going to ride on that. You don't really love Cam Newton at Philadelphia. You don't really like Evan Ingram, his first game back, but he's playing Atlanta. So will he be healthy? This is really, 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 really tough for me. Standing here right now, I don't know who I'm going to pick, but I am going to be forced to go with Terry, picking Pearson to lose 2 in a row. I just think Goff's going to have a bounce-back week. I think Beckham's going to have that week where you're like, all right, it's OBJ, he's back. Got to go with the wrecking crew against Bald Steepest here in Week 7. Moving on to my third matchup, Saved by the Bell versus Todd. This one is a close matchup. Zach, I haven't been giving him enough credit. Zach came out and whooped my butt last week. Devontae Adams has been a beast for him. Zach is 4-2. He's right in the mix of things here. Zach has a great team. Haven't given him enough face time. Zach, watch out for him this year. He's destined for the playoffs. Todd said last week was a must-win matchup, and he won the game against Pearson, even with some bye week issues. Now, Chris has some good matchups. Matt Ryan at home against the Giants. That is obviously a good matchup. Stephon Diggs has had some down weeks. I actually don't know if he's going to have a great week against the Jets. When you're playing opposite of Adam Thielen, who is a lock for 100 yards, Diggs obviously isn't going to be a lock for 100 yards every week either. So will Adam Thielen have a down week this week? I hope so. I'm playing Kevin. Do I think so? No, I think Adam's going to continue to roll. Diggs might take that backseat role and have less than 50 yards, but he could score. Todd Gurley at San Francisco. Like I said before, broken slot machine just keeps spitting out money. It's not going to stop this week. At San Francisco, honestly, if you were setting an over-under, would it be 30, 35? I might even take the over if it's 30. Watch out for Todd Gurley. Zach's team. He's finally got Carson Wentz in his lineup. I'm looking at it right now. He didn't have him in last week. Carson's is back to strength now. He's got A.J. Green at Kansas City. John Brown and Alex Collins, a pair of Ravens against the Saints. Tevin Coleman now with Freeman out against the Giants. Holy matchups, Batman. This is a good matchup week here for Zach. I am going to go with Zach, with Saved by the Bell. Chris has a good team, but he just hasn't lived up to expectations this year. He got a win by the skin of his teeth last week against Pearson, I'm going to go with Zach. Chris is another must-win game for him. He can't go to 2-5 and find himself, a playoff spot. He's going to have to run the table after that. He's got to win this matchup. I'm going with Saved by the Bell to win. That brings me to the matchup of the week, which is Rolls-Royce versus Eating W's. Let's start with my dud of the week. So, Tyreek Hill does not have a bad matchup. Tyreek Hill is like a pinball. He either goes for 35 or he gets 6, 8, 9, whatever he gets in the single digits. I don't really love this as my dud of the week, but I'm going to go with it. I think that Tyreek Hill had a great week last week, and it might actually lead to my sleeper a little bit later. I think that Cincinnati's underrated. Kansas City's actually favored by 6. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I think it might just go that way where Kareem Hunt has a lot of the yards, and some of the other players on Kansas City has the yards, where I don't think Tyreek Hill will have that great of a week. Watch me be completely wrong about Hill and my start of the week, and then Matthew Berry's going to come back and say, I told you so, and still block me on Twitter. But anyway, this is the matchup of the week, Rolls-Royce versus Eating W's. First place for Jake, who I've been praising his team. Second place for Brett as we stand here today. Brett, I thought he was going to lose last week. He dropped a 180 spot on Otley, so that shows you how much I know. Look, Julio Jones, I read a stat. He's on pace for like 1,800 yards and 0 touchdowns. He's an anomaly. He doesn't even need to score touchdowns to be great in fantasy. He's playing the Giants. Julio Jones is going to have a great week. Kamara, Brett gets Kamara back. He was able to win with him last week, without him last week, thanks to Latavius Murray. And then he's got Marlon Mack in his lineup now. It's a good pickup by Brett, who looks like the starter in Indianapolis. Shifting gears back to Jake. Saquon Barkley at Atlanta. I'm going against him in another league. I'm like, oh my God, what is another one over-under? Like 25.5. Probably take the over on that. Maybe 30. I mean, he's a lock for at least 8 or 9 catches because Eli just dunks it to him. And he's always a lock for that long touchdown run too. So Saquon, he's going to have himself a day. Kirk Cousins against the Jets, that's kind of a toss-up. He does have Ben Roethlisberger, obviously, on bye, so he's going with Cousins. The Jets have been surprisingly good. I mean, Vikings in that game, I think, are favored by 3 points. That really could go either way, honestly, in my opinion. So it should be an interesting matchup there. Look, both of these teams are really good. Yahoo's predicting Brett to score 128. Yahoo's projecting Jake to score 124. Like I said, Brett's team's a little hit or miss. I remember he scored 80 or so that one week with Mahomes on his bench. Last week he scored 180, so that's a little bit of a disparity. Jake has been the model of consistency. I'm going to go with Rolls-Royce. I'm not feeling great about my predictions this week, so maybe that's an indictment on this pick on Jake. This is a really tough one to predict. I'm going to go with Rolls-Royce to overcome Brett and go with my gut with Tyreek Hill having a down week. That brings me to Darnold Sixpack versus D's Nuts. Me versus the champ. The commish versus the champ, Kevin. Kev is in a little bit of trouble this week. I'm glad he traded for Antonio Brown because he's on bye this week, so I'm glad that kind of worked out for me. But he still has Adam Thielen. He still has Josh Gordon, who is getting more involved in that New England offense. His running backs aren't great, but they have some good matchups. Phillip Lindsay against Arizona tonight. There's one thing I know about the Cardinals. They can't stop the run. The Vikings had no touchdowns on the ground. The only team in the league that have no rushing touchdowns through the first 5 weeks. Last week they played Arizona. Latavius Murray had over 100 yards and a touchdown. So I got to hope Royce Freeman maybe steals some carries from Lindsay, but he should have a good day. And then he got Ito Smith a week early. Didn't have to pay up for him on the waiver wire, and he looks like he's going to have a good week now with Freeman out. I told you I'd give you a sleeper. My sleeper goes with my dud. Sammy Watkins had a horrible week last week. I started him. He had 18 yards. Didn't matter because Zach beat me by 1,000 anyway. But Sammy Watkins has been good, not great. They paid him a lot of money. I just think he's going to do it this week against Cincinnati. I have blind faith as I have to play him anyway. I just think he's going to have that week. He's probably my wide receiver 2 this week, which is so sad. My receivers are so bad. But look, between him having a better week, I got Golladay back. Now I got Jameis Winston, who I am playing over Matt Stafford. Matt Stafford sucks. I've never liked Matt Stafford. Hopefully he does well enough for Golladay to do good. And I'm going to rely what I've done all season. Melvin Gordon and Christian McCaffrey, that's my team. Those two guys need to take me home. Melvin Gordon, I reached for him a little bit in the draft. He's been nothing short of fantastic. I think he's either second, third running back on the year in points. He scored every week that he's played this season, so I'm riding with him. Darnold's six-pack. They're going to win. The Sixers are going to win. The Vikings are going to win. We're having a good sports weekend, guys. Listen, I'm about to tune in to trust the process tonight. We took a fall Tuesday night. Celtics are better than us, but we're a hell of a lot better than the Bulls. Good things to come from the Sixers. Don't count Markelle Fultz out yet, but it's getting close. I'm not sold. Listen, guys, Commish out. Enjoy the games.